One of the really cheesy lines we said from the very start was, before building a team, we wanted to build a club.
Welcome to Gibraltar, a sleepy afternoon at Brunos Bar Restaurant. Nestled along the boardwalk underneath some of Gibraltar's tallest buildings, a round bar in front, a patio, and a dancing area that's patiently waiting its turn. It has beer, it has food, and it also has a football or soccer team. A football team that's getting ready to take on European giants Copenhagen in the European Conference League qualifying second round. If football isn't your thing, I'll be the first to tell you that this is not normal. A so-called pub team does not ever get earn the chance, to play against one of the 16 best clubs in Europe. A club that beat Manchester United last year in this very stadium. A stadium that holds more people than the entire country I'm sitting in right now. This is Doreen. Her and her late husband, Paddy Perry, opened Brunos a little over 10 years ago. She's a force of nature, a larger-than-life character known to everyone in Gibraltar for one reason or another. To many, a matriarchal figure, a constant.
Thank you, darling. We own Brunos. We bought it because my husband was bored when we came out here and retired, and he thought it was going to be a little coffee shop because we bought it off plan. And he didn't really look at the plan and the measurements and whatever. And when it was built, 2 years later, we came in here and thought, oh my God, this is what we didn't expect that. We thought it was going to be a little coffee shop. You come in here Friday night, it's busy, it's packed, and everybody's dancing. We all get up and have a dance.
So you've still got the dance moves then?
Oh, absolutely.
Now, there is an important distinction here because there are two things, the restaurant and the actual team. Doreen might own Brunos, but she doesn't own the team, which could be confusing since the team was founded in Brunos. It is also called Brunos, specifically Brunos Magpies, for reasons I would soon come to find out. The actual founder of the club is Louis Perry, and if the last name sounds familiar, it's Doreen's grandson. You've already met him. This is Louis Perry, and if you're thinking he looks a little young to have founded a club playing against Copenhagen in European competition, you would be right.
Before we really get going, can we get these Jaeger bombs down?
So 4-0.
So 4-0.
4-0.
Louis invited us to join him, and the first manager of Brunos, as well as a couple of former pub players, as they lathered up to cheer on their club in Copenhagen.
I tried to go to teams in Gib, and because I didn't know anyone, I just couldn't get in. And basically I went to a team on trial called Cannons. They hadn't won a game for 2 years. And I went on trial in a training session with them. I got 2 goals from left back. And after that, I went up to the manager, feeling like Messi. I walked over to him come on in, where's the contract, let's sign up. And he said, our assistant manager's a left back. He kind of said, look, you're going to take our assistant manager's place. So he said there's no space. So that's what kind of urged me. I'm like, well, I can't put up with this anymore. I'll start a team so I can actually get into it.
Louis then decided to leverage his newfound position behind the Brunos bar to launch his crazy idea.
Remember, I walked in, he says, thinking about starting a football team? All right, okay. 2 lagers, please.
That's literally how it was. I served him, and I basically said, Mick, I'm thinking about starting a football team. Would you be up to getting involved or something like that? He thought I was kind of joking, didn't think anything of it. Yeah. Found out it was £500 for the team and then £500 for the reserve team. So I went to my grandparents on the weekend. They said, look, it costs us £1,000 and then will you sponsor it? You pay for that, and then we'd call it the Brunos team. And then when he come back in, the next time he went in, I said, oh, Mick, that's it, we've got the team sorted.
And I thought it was going to be a Sunday league team.
And he was a key component of the start of the team, because when I had the idea of starting it, obviously wasn't ready to be a manager, so I needed someone with some experience of managing the group of players. So
well, and he kind of looks like Ancelotti too. I mean,
he'll take that. He will take that.
I've just got to check Ancelotti's age before
So Mick was and Mick came to fame is obviously his contract stipulation was that we played in black and white. and we had the Magpies as our nickname. So Mick got his way, and that's how the Brunos Magpies was formed.
We were in the Gibraltar second division, then Gibraltar joined UEFA, and then the whole thing spiralled. And so I was there for 2 years. 9 years later, this is where we are in Copenhagen, so he's done a great job. Unfortunately, his grandfather died in November last year, and he was the sponsor of the team, and he would have loved to have been walking around Copenhagen. So it's a shame he's not here, but he's done a fantastic job, and all the people that have contributed.
Louis was the leader, Mick was the brains, but Paddy was the heart. It felt in some ways like we'd come to Gibraltar too late to tell this story since he'd already passed on. After all, when Louis came down to Gibraltar for the first time, it was Paddy that funded his wild idea to start a club.
How long after you opened Bruno's did Louis come down?
Oh, he came down almost straight away. He was on holiday and went behind the bar because we were short of staff. What were we doing? Running a blooming bar? We'd never run a bar in all our life. And it just took off completely. Bruno's was the place to be, and everybody came here. I have to say, a lot of it was to do with Louis, be it behind the bar, because he could chat to anybody. By this time, he knew all the blokes that used to come around the bar, so they started the football team with all the blokes that came around the bar.
There was only one problem. Well, there was more than one problem. They were trying to start a whole club, for crying out loud, but the biggest problem was obvious. In Gibraltar, there's not much land to use. The whole country is 2.25 square miles. It's possible to drive from one end of the country to the other in less than 20 minutes, and that's factoring in perilous roads that can often filter down to one lane. There are 3 fields and a 2-league system of clubs using those fields for their senior and sometimes youth teams. The boys at Bruno's had a creative solution, though.
We didn't know how to book pitches or how to do anything.
Yeah.
All we needed to find was an open bit of land or open bit of ground to try and get these trials. And me and Mick saw this outside this restaurant stroke bar in Spain called Luna. There was like an open area of beach. So we thought we'd put some shirts down to make goals.
So a family of 4 would walk across the pitch during the trials. Mum and Dad and 2 kids.
We've like literally said to any guy who'd walk into the pub, right? Any guy who is from 20 to 45, I'd just be going, you don't play football, do you? So we'd have all these random people turn up, and me and Mick was trying to take their name, and then on a bobbly beach, trying to judge how good they were at football. And obviously, because everyone hasn't played football for like years and years, you're going, oh yeah, this guy's all right. And then suddenly he'd pull his hamstring.
Can I also just say that we finished mid-table in the second division of Gibraltar, and
In the first year?
yeah, in the first year, and the team was pretty good, players-wise, but out of shape. But if they had been fit, I think we would have got promoted in the first year. Initially, we played 3 at the back because we had 3 centre-halves that couldn't run. Sorry, guys.
This is Brunos Magpies now. To call them a pub team is just flat out wrong. These are professionals of the semi and full variety. I mean, you had to know it wasn't an actual pub team. A collection of lads from the local pub is probably not going to beat the second best team in Ireland, which these particular lads did in order to make it to this stage. They are, by any measure, compared to any person inside or outside of a pub, very good players and deserve to be treated as such.
How well do you know the players on the team now, or do you
Not so much.
know them as well?
Not so much as I did then. Now it's
Yeah.
more serious because they want to qualify for Europe. They're more serious about it, and I understand that completely. What used to encourage us to have more supporters than anybody else, we used to send them a cheeseburger up half-time.
So you would send a cheeseburger to every fan that attended the
Yes. Hey, we always had more supporters than anyone because we were getting burgers. Bribery and corruption.
game? You're bribing me too with beers, so it's the way it works. You know?
That's the way it works.
You would just walk to the games
We
from the
were,
restaurant.
yeah, we used to all come here and have a drink before we started. Then we
The
used
team would come here and have a drink before.
No, not the team. Not
Oh,
the
okay.
team. No, the team did. Mick wouldn't allow that before the game. No, he wouldn't.
But after.
But afterwards, I think it was the magic of it. The magic, and it was magic because it was a little pub team and they did so well.
Did you think this was a crazy idea?
No, loved every minute.
You loved
I
it?
love football.
Yeah. Oh, that
Cheers.
was good. Cheers.
I think you're done with me, aren't you?
Well, I also think I'm in need of a new beer, so.
Yeah. Back, Blue, he needs a beer.
You'll be there in the next 20 minutes.
Okay, better get my climbing gear.
No.
To understand how a club can go from Doreen and Paddy's pub to a massive European stage in 10 years, you have to understand Gibraltar. And there may be no better person on the planet to explain Gibraltar than Jansen Daly. He's the director of football for Brunos, and I am fairly certain he was carved out of the rock itself, some sort of immaculate conception.
So now we're making our way to the rock.
Okay, now we're going up.
Yeah, now we're going up.
Yeah, I'm comfortable saying I couldn't drive this in a manual.
Oh yeah, Gibraltar has a big rock in the middle of it. Like, really big. Driving in from Spain, it lords over the horizon like some prehistoric skyscraper left over from Atlantis, which Jansen says could be in the Straits of Gibraltar, by the way.
If we're lucky enough, I think we are. You can see Morocco. And I think also it's called Mount Albaya.
Mount Albaya.
And we are Mont Scalpe.
So the Rock of Gibraltar is Mont Scalpe.
Scalpe, yeah.
What port is that we're looking at?
You're looking at Algeciras there, and Ceuta on the other side.
Algeciras, okay.
Algeciras is Spain. It's like around 15 minutes in car.
Hello, Africa. Hey, what's that? That's like some sort of weather installation on top?
That's a military base. I've never even got close to that.
Okay. See, that's not, like if you're a kid growing up in Gibraltar, you can't like climb up there. And so the actual top of the rock.
If you want to get shot, yes.
Okay.
It isn't just a military base up here. There are also monkeys. The only monkeys in Europe, which have been here as long as anyone seems to remember. Watching the ships go by, different owners come and go from atop their rocky home. Timeless keepers of the rock. They are also remarkably indifferent to, well, anyone near them. I've been told this is a facade to try and steal my snacks, so they're not fooling me. Nobody touches my candy, even if it's a cute monkey.
So you took the club out of being a pub team?
With myself and other people that have been involved, but yeah, my first start was I brought 3 youth teams over.
Wait, you just brought the entire youth team over?
One of them that was at Mont Scalpe. I started it when they were 4 or 5 years old, so they knew me, so they just followed me. And then I created 2 others by knowing people around Gibraltar. And then since then, we now have 8 youth teams in 5 years.
How are there enough people in Gibraltar for all of this to be possible? You have 8 youth teams? I didn't know there were that many kids in the entire country.
Yeah, there's at least 1,000 kids. It's 88 youth teams.
So that means 1/35 of the entire population of the country is involved in youth football.
Yeah, we
They're
try
playing.
to steal them from basketball and all that, yeah.
The professionalization of a pub team.
Yes.
Jansen was integral to the transformation of Brunos from Doreen's pub to those professional-looking dudes you saw earlier training in Denmark's national stadium. Though the journey before Jansen was as tumultuous and hilarious as you might have expected from our unlikely group of founding fathers.
The first year was purely like almost a social environment. And I remember as we got better, it became a lot harder for us because we used to go to a cafe for our kind of pre-match debrief and we'd talk about what team we're going to play and what formation and everything else. It became really awkward because, for example, Jack was our good friend as well as a player in our team. So what we'd have is, and the big example would be...
I would say I don't want to play Jack, and he would say he's got to play
but you've got to play him.
Well, I didn't know about this. It's
No, but
first time I'm learning about this.
Still after he answered the first question.
And I remember the first player we paid was £30 a match
Oh, who was getting £30 a match?
Was Paul Marsden not on £4 a month?
In terms of financial expenses, and we got a couple of guys from London, and then they got a win bonus. And these guys were like, Jack will probably remember, these guys were really good players. They overestimated what Gib was because they thought it was in Europe. They thought, oh, it's a great stepping stone, and we just, yeah, of course it is. They come over, and it's like they were playing with people like Jack and people like me, and like people who couldn't even run, and they're like playing these 30-yard balls, 40-yard balls, thinking up they're proper ballers, and no one could keep up with them because they were a different wavelength. So for me, it was like a step up from Football Manager.
So you'd played Football Manager.
So I played Football Manager all my life, but this was like the next step where it wasn't Football Manager, it was like chairman manager. Like you would in Football Manager, you set your budget, and then I said to the manager, look, go and find players who suit the budget. It was, right, well, if we've got, say, Jack who doesn't want money, and we've got Pete or somebody else who doesn't want money, then with them two who not want money, maybe you can get another guy who wants 30, another guy who wants 30, and it can kind of equal it out. And it was just trying to manage the tight restraints we had.
The changing winds eventually caught up with Bruno's charismatic first manager as well.
So like as we got to the latter of the season, I just said to Louis, I says, I think I'm done here, I says. And his grandfather said, Mick, no, stay. And every time he used to leave the bar, he says, Mick, I've left you a bottle of red wine, and that was playing in my mind. I just thought it's time to give somebody else a guy. I loved all of it, but
the level was getting better. So where before when we started,
but in the second season we got to the Rock Cup semi-final, which includes the first division teams. We got the semi-final, we were 1-0 up against 10 men, and then we got beat 3-1, didn't we?
That is insane, by the way. The Rock Cup is outside the league, like the FA Cup in England, and was traditionally dominated by a few teams. Bruno's are not one of those few teams. St. Joseph's, Europa, and most of all Lincoln Red Imps have run Gib for some time. But last year, Bruno's finally won the Rock Cup. To compete with the big three like that required money. Money that Louis, Paddy, and Doreen didn't have.
I'm an estate agent, and one of my clients is Haig, who used to be the chairman of Watford. The Magpies were going in one direction, and I could see where we were going. We needed more professionalism, and that's where when Haig come in, Haig instantly, we set a plan, we had KPIs, and we turned it from being a pub team into what is a business. One of the really cheesy lines we said from the very start was, before building a team, we wanted to build a club. So we tried to build the fan base, we tried to build the kind of community aspect, and it worked really well.
That's where Doreen and her hamburgers came into play. Haig became the co-chairman of the team with Louis. He brought his experience, his money, and his gravitas. It's also worth mentioning, Haig is something of a Renaissance man, a 3-time national British champion in figure skating.
21-year-old Hai Gunjan. As always, including 2 triples in his performance.
And thanks to Hai Gunjan, he runs his business very well. Sustainable. If I have £1, I only have £1. I don't have £1.50. If I ask him for something, he tends to say yes. So I use my cards correctly. So maybe I only have 3 cards.
Right.
So I have to use the cards correctly.
Well, when was the last time you used a card? What was it for?
It was for the 7 players I signed in conference this year. So I've already used my card.
That's a big card.
But thanks to that card, we've gone through to the second round. But running the club is from a phone, really. We don't have offices, we don't have anything, so it's just like bang on the streets, get it going, word of mouth. You're in the beach and you're signing young players. Oh, I want to join Magpies. You get a group of 10 kids and tell them, look, listen, get a group of friends and I can create a team for you. And that's how you start building, because for us, we don't have history. So in 10 years from now, we will have players who have played for Magpies and say, hey, I want to coach my son at Magpies. So that's how the volunteering starts into the club.
How hard is it to convince some of those people to come to Gibraltar?
Well, it's hard. It takes at least a week.
What's your sales pitch?
Well, there's 2 different pitches.
Okay.
One is when we're in Europe, which has been three years, so you end up saying, hey, you want to play Europe? You have to sign a year. If you want to play for Europe only, you only have a month or 2-month contract and your salary is completely really low.
Yeah.
But I'm giving you the opportunity. Now your salary can go higher if you commit to the league. If I click with them in terms of they have a family or they're tired of getting screwed over in different clubs, I tell them how secure our payments are. My second one is, are you tired of playing in the rain? Do you want to play in the sun?
It was time to hit the road again. We headed to watch a Brunos Magpies youth team training session, something that would have been unimaginable when the club was founded just over 10 years ago. Along the way, something that became a regular occurrence the entire day, we ran into more people Jansen knows.
Tony.
No, ¿qué pasa? ¿Cómo vais?
Nano, how you doing? ¿Todo bien?
Ahí va a entrenar, ¿no?
Va a entrenar la sub-18.
Sí,
Aquí estamos haciendo
un vistazo, ¿no?
un documental. Son de Zealand.
Hi.
Nano is one of the most experienced and professional players that have arrived to Gibraltar. He played for Panathinaikos, Olympiacos, but he played for Panathinaikos, Almería. Nano.
Pasado buen día.
Tony, they're from Lincoln, by the way.
Oh.
Yo,
Imagine you get good at parallel parking.
I am amazing. Now don't hit the car, please, Johnson.
Those players we just met play for Lincoln Red Imps. They just finished their senior training and are winding down after practice. They all know each other. The proximity of everything and everyone in Gibraltar is perhaps its most defining characteristic. The training field for today is called Europa Point, a field hanging off the edge of Europe. This is actually where Copenhagen came to play Brunos in the first leg of their two-leg tie, winning 3-0 with a couple of late goals. A stark contrast from where we're headed. But there are steps left to take before this team can take that stage, and one man you haven't met who helped propel Brunos up those steps.
How did you first hear about Brunos in the first place?
I took the sabbatical. I was, like I said, one of the 5 owners of Boca. When Boca folded, I took the sabbatical then of a year and a half. Haig and Jansen approached me and they said, "Look, Aaron, what are you doing? You're not in football. Do you want to come and join us?" And I said, "No." I said to them, I said, "No, I'm not really in love with football at the moment." And it was just basically persistence. They kept coming to me, and then the ultimate offer I got was, come to the team, name your role. You can be anything you want to be in the club.
Aaron Edwards, a businessman in Gibraltar, a former player, and an experienced legal operator. We met him at his business because, well, he's a businessman.
I said, "Oh, I don't want to be anything. Like, where do you need help? I can help you professionalize your club and off the pitch."
Even Aaron now, who you've met, Aaron, he comes from a legal background, so he actually knows where before our contracts were like a stock Google contract with Magpies on the top, player name, and then 30 quid per game, because that's all I could find.
Would you say you're the person responsible for professionalizing the pub team?
It was a team effort. It's not just me, but obviously I have a bit more acumen in stuff to do with contracts, how to run the finances. So it was probably my push that basically professionalized the club. I just think it was just a perfect timing, should we say, that the club had to professionalize itself to be able to get to where it is now, because it's what's demanded of clubs at UEFA level. I was just the cog in the wheel that got it over the line. Maybe till 2016, 17 was probably when they were still the pub club. Don't get me wrong, when I joined them, they were still meeting they would go after games to the pub, and I would never knock that, because it was almost like, I wouldn't call it a clubhouse, but it was almost like a meeting point, type thing. And even now, I wouldn't refuse if they said to me, "Look, we want to make Brunos the place where the players meet before game and after game." I wouldn't knock that. I would encourage it, because at the end of the day, it is the history of the club, and it doesn't mean you're not professional as a club day and night now compared to what we were. And even now, I have to pinch myself when you think about it, saying from 2012 on the back of a piece of paper with 500 quid in the pocket, you bunch of mates, second division, join the local football league, and then in literally
11 years down the line, 10, 11 years down the line, you're playing against Champions League teams in some of the biggest stadiums in European football. I don't think anywhere in the world there's a story like that, like in football.
The National Team Stadium of Gibraltar, currently under renovation. It's right next to the airport. To be fair, the airport is hard to miss. You used to have to drive across it to enter the country. Now, there's a tunnel. Jansen had us drive up so we could walk around. Then he ran into someone who led us into the locker rooms.
And this is our home one. Climbing over into Spain when there was a fence and you couldn't see your family when they closed it.
Spain. Outside of the rock, it is the other constant of life in Gibraltar. The relationship has always been tenuous. Very briefly, Gibraltar was signed over to Britain in the early 1700s as part of a peace deal. Almost immediately, Spain began attacking to reclaim it. This culminated in the Great Siege of Gibraltar during the American Revolutionary War, but Gibraltar survived and rebuilt. By the 1950s, Spain, ruled by Francisco Franco, renewed its claim to the peninsula. There was a referendum in 1967 where the vast majority of Gibraltarians voted to remain British, and in response, Spain closed the border. This had a devastating effect on the families in both Spain and Gibraltar that often crossed the border multiple times a day, creating divided families and a new generation of deep-seated resentment. On a map, it looks like Gibraltar is just a tiny piece carved out of Spain by the echoes of an old war. But on the ground, the reality is much different and much more complicated than that.
Good evening, unsavory scenes here at the Europa Point Stadium for this Conference League match between St. Joseph's and Shelbourne FC of the Republic of Ireland. It seems like the antics from the Spanish national team while celebrating the Euros 2024 win of chanting Gibraltar es Español has transferred over to club football, unfortunately.
So to say that was just, it was wrong. And when we actually spoke to the Shelbourne fans, when the Shelbourne fans come into Brunos, the pub, to watch the game with us, when I explained what it meant, they didn't realise what it meant. And actually what they were just simply doing is, because Rodri and the Spanish team were singing it, they underestimated what it meant. And when I explained, it's like going into Ireland and saying Ireland is England, they said, oh, well, no, I wouldn't like that. I said, exactly, the exact same.
Gibraltar is by no means fully British either. The accent is different, and the country has scores of different ethnic groups and 5 major religions who, according to Jansen, a man that would know such things, have never had a significant feud. It is a melting pot, fixed at one of the most critical trade points in the entire world, galvanized by a unique, if often overlooked, shared history, and now also galvanized by its football teams.
Jace, St. Joseph, Alain Pont, St. Joseph, Abdul is his brother.
And so how many people in the current national team are fully professional, like they don't have another job?
Here there's only 2, him and him. Police officer, and him as well. Back to the States, electrician, finance, firefighter, customs officer, prison warden, and I think he's out of a job.
So this is the walk the team takes to the field.
He plays for Dundalk, and we played against them last year.
Oh, wow. It's growing a lot. Like, it's almost like Gibraltarian football's waking up, it feels like. Like you're starting to pay attention.
We've been dead, and we've been dead because I feel, and this is my own humble opinion, we've not done things correctly since getting into Europe. We were handed a UEFA license and UEFA citizenship in terms of football and all that stuff from one day to another. We were thrown in the deep end, and they say, hey, swim with the sharks.
Now Gibraltar is awake. After a decade-long mad scramble to make meaning of all the money, all the attention for a league and a national team that previously no one outside this rock cared about, the stage is finally set. The lights are on, and the fans are ready.
Sure, what's happening tonight?
Tunde is going to be on fire, and Copenhagen's defence is terrified. We're going to give it a good go. And look, this is a team, as we've said, is economically far advanced. Their stadium, their home stadium, is bigger than the whole of the population of Gib. You know, that's how big they are compared to Gib. But I think we go today with we're in our numbers. We've got what 9-10 fans, and we're gonna give it a good go. You know, 6-1 away team. We go through, and we play Chelsea next round and beat them.
The team, typical of Gibraltarian hospitality, welcomed us everywhere. Manager Nathan Rooney let us sit in on the tactical briefing before the match. And now I don't know how Champagne Mick used to do it, but it probably wasn't like this.
When I said to you about having this elite mentality, there's a fullback there, make sure it's 100% pass by just giving up the yard and then playing back in front of the midfield position. But the pace also of that delivery, rather than it coming from that way and you've got the runner there and the runner there off the back of you. The numbers and the balance in this are saying that you have to have the focus on the 7, you know, and you have got to have that confidence. From that, you're doing nothing apart from heading it out or over the bar. But from that, you've got bang, and you've got your standing jump, which is a natural trait for you.
Nathan Rooney is, after all, a fully accredited European coach. He is also, as we came to learn at training the day before the game, incredibly loud.
Get set, get set, get set. Play! Good! Go play, Lee Coombs. Good, play! Good ball! Play! Now go and press! Play! Good, play! Play! Find the man, Ash! Head, head, head! Where are you running away from it? I do well today. Go on! Drive, Carlo! Bien! Good, Freddy! Go on, Carlos! Go on, Carlos! Play, 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 play! Good! Play! Good, Javi! Negro, go on! Go on!
You could feel the tension. It lingered in the eyes of every player that dared look near our cameras. For most of them, this was the biggest stage they would ever play on. For a few, it was a return to years gone by. Whether they're from England, Spain, or Gibraltar itself, the litmus test was here. That training made it real. Tomorrow, it would be full of angry, screaming fans, Copenhagen's own mountain, which this group would have to climb. Or maybe they'd already climbed it by being here at all.
Paco,
Yep.
how many days a week do you work here?
All of them.
All of them?
Well, I was doing some stuff because I have to catch up with the things that I didn't do for a week. I've been away.
This is Paco Zuniga. He is the captain of Brunos Magpies. And while the team might look like any other professional sports team you've seen, many of the players still have to maintain jobs to support themselves and their families. This is actually easier in Gibraltar because, well, you don't have to travel for away games.
Because I've been saving my holidays since the year started. And I've been using half a day, so complete days. Half a day to go training in the morning.
Okay, so you have to take a day. You have to take a half day off to train in the morning.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
What does your boss think of that?
He might not be very happy, to be honest.
If you went to yourself 15 years ago and told yourself you'd be a professional footballer in Gibraltar,
nah, I wouldn't believe it.
Did you know what Gibraltar was?
No. And I remember actually the first time when they told me that I was coming here, they asked me, do you know what Gibraltar is? And I didn't want to show my ignorance, but when I replied, I noticed I was more ignorant. Because I said, yeah, it's by Italy, no, it's around there.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
It is typical for players at Brunos to be from outside Gibraltar. Jansen, Aaron, Louis, and everyone else we talked to noted that foreign players had to be a big part of the league system because there just aren't enough local players to fill all the teams. But as you might imagine, their journey to Gibraltar is often not a straight one. Especially Paco's. He's come all the way from Mexico. A tale of determination hidden behind a disarming smile.
When they say you've given up on playing,
Yeah. Well, I mean, I used to play football all my life, no? Because I've been in good teams when I was very young, actually. And I was always kind of training in the first division team. And then I started playing in lower divisions. But the lower divisions, they have a limit of age.
Okay.
For example, you cannot play if you are over 25 years old, for example.
Right.
And that's when I stopped playing because my age came. You go to play to towns, like small towns, and they give you some money, and I used to do that the weekends, for example. So just because I like football and because they give you money, but it wasn't professional at all. You wouldn't train or anything. You just go.
You just show up.
Yeah, you show up that day, and if
because there was this some sort of.
Yeah,
well,
no.
What
was,
even is camp the right word? What it's this?
It was kind of a camp. Yeah, it was called a showcase.
A showcase. Okay.
Yeah, but you had to pay some money to get. I didn't even know it existed. First of all, it was a friend of mine that won the. like pay for the money to get there and everything. But at the end, he called me saying, I cannot make it because I have something else to do. But you just go and say you and me, and I did. I went. I just collected some money from some friends of mine, and they helped me to pay the bus to get there. What they had in particular is that they went to that showcase, obviously I was the youngest one, for example, I was 25, 26. The showcase was for those players that were already like over 30, 32, to try to find another chance.
And what point did you tell them your real name? Or have you?
The thing is curious because they knew him because he's kind of quite popular there, around there, no? And I said, no, actually, well, he was the one that told me to come here and I was just filling out the spot, no?
Okay, so you just talked them into letting you.
Yeah, I was very honest with them and they were like, okay, no worries, I took the bus of the 12, the midnight bus. So I spent the whole night traveling. As soon as I got there, I had just enough money for a couple of days. And I had to take a taxi because I was already late for that. And the taxi was so expensive. And I said, oh my God, I spent all my money already. And I haven't even started training. I haven't even had breakfast. And Sunday they tell me, no, you're staying for the next 3 days. And I said, you're joking, no? And he said, no, the people that are meant to be watching are not even here yet. I told them what I want to do.
So what did you do? You didn't even have money for breakfast that day.
No, I knew some people that were from that place, Puebla, that helped me. They gave me some food for breakfast, lunch, and it was just like an adventure that day.
At what point in those 5 days did some random person from
It was the last day.
It was the last day.
Yeah. The very last moment after the last match, and that's when he told me, I'm looking for a center back, 6 foot tall, left footed. And I said, well, I fulfill every single thing. And he said, but you play as a left back. I said, yeah, because they didn't allow me to play as a center back. But I'm a center back, actually. And if he would have told me, well, I'm looking for a striker, I would have said, I'm a striker.
Well, you're about to become a...
Yeah, I'm going to be Gibraltarian, yeah. Now, well, my wife is Gibraltarian. I have a Gibraltarian daughter as well. So, I mean, I feel part of the Gibraltarian community already. I mean, I really like it. All the people here have been very good with me. They've been very helpful, and I appreciate that. The people here have been really nice with me.
How many times have you been able to go home since you moved here?
I went once because when I came here the first time, the flight was like both ways, and then I haven't gone back ever. Yeah, I have some friends there. I have a daughter there. She's gonna turn 13 this year. So yeah, of course there are things that I left behind, but well, I'm still in touch with my daughter and everything is fine. But yeah, I think I'm better here than I would be there. So I'm trying to sacrifice what I left behind for now, because I'm trying to find a better future, you know. So that's why I want to kind of make a career here, to grow as much as I can, so I can help them in the best way I could. For example, in Mexico, I wasn't ever going to be able to be doing something that I'm doing now, like working and playing and traveling. Now I travel a lot. I just knew Mexico before I came here. I just knew Mexico.
Yeah.
So now my mind is opening a lot. I know a lot of things I didn't imagine it was gonna be.
He had been signed by a different club, Mons Calpe, the club Jansen worked at. When Jansen moved to Brunos, he brought Paco with him.
Have you ever been to Brunos, the restaurant where it started?
Yeah, actually, when I started first year, I think, the whole year was that I had my lunch there, and it was lunch and dinner they would give me there. So I would go every single day.
Do you pinch yourself?
We are living the moment at the moment. And at some point in the future, probably we're gonna be thinking, oh, do you remember how we got here, how we did this? We're gonna sit down and have this chat at some point. But at the moment, I think we are all living it. We are all like living the moment and enjoying it.
And now he's here, leading his team out in Copenhagen from the same dressing room Manchester United used last year.
Make sure your position is set. Here's something. Here's something.
Wherever they came from, however they got here, now it's just 22 guys on a patch of grass in downtown Copenhagen. And of course 10 to 20 Gibraltarians in the stands cheering them on. That's where I was headed, camera in one hand and beer in the other, to soak in a spectacle only football could create. The club caught between a rock and this hard place. Brunos takes the lead. The club founded by Louis, so he had a team to play on. Nourished by Doreen's Burgers. And coached by Champagne Mick, was winning on the night in Copenhagen. Sport overuses the phrase, couldn't even have dreamt that. But this they could not even have dreamt. It was pure magic. Collective disbelief on a scale you have to be present to really feel. As the night grew longer, the unrest grew louder. The Copenhagen fans that had treated Brunos as a fascination before the match now recognized their folly.
I remember at some point we were passing the ball, we had the possession. They were silent, the other team was silent, and then they started shouting, and that motivated us to carry on passing the ball, and we were doing it amazing.
It felt like it lasted forever. An eternity everyone at Brunos will carry with them the rest of their lives. Then a foul, a penalty, and a goal for Copenhagen. Halftime, 1-1. The second half took on a different tone, with Copenhagen asserting itself. After some time, Bruno's rock-like resistance was broken. Order was restored out of madness, and a team that was in the last 16 of the Champions League just last season looked like it. For the final few minutes, the scoreboard read 5-1 to the home team, but 25 goals couldn't erase what had happened on this field tonight.
Even though we were losing the last 10 minutes already, I don't want the match to finish. I still wanted to carry on playing. I didn't care the score or anything, just to stand there with all those people shouting. I don't want it to finish.
Game over. Dream realized. Copenhagen was incredibly kind and invited the Gibraltar fan section to their stadium club postgame. Even the Brunos team made an appearance.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Football Club Brunos Magpies! What a game. The ball is over.
Adler and I put back a few Carlsbergs, and before long, the club founder Louis was leading a dance party into the Copenhagen streets.
And a city that never sleeps. We'll be the king of the hill. Top of the heat.
What does it mean to be Gibraltarian?
Proud. I think being Gibraltarian is we've been knocked down and knocked off. We have this urge to tell everybody where we're from and how unique place we are from. We know the world does know us.
Well, now the world does know them, and at this rate, the world has a lot more left to learn. Lives have changed here. Careers, stories that grandchildren will hear about for lifetimes have been made here. Gibraltar will probably never produce a Champions League winner, a World Cup winner, or win any major trophy. But for the people here, the emphasis is on the word probably. A group of people that didn't shy away from a challenge, that didn't wilt in the face of overwhelming odds, but asked instead how they could move forward, that asked not how many, but where they are, that dared to dream. Brunos Magpies found their great moment, and they may just find another. But whether they do or not, the Rock will be here. timeless in the face of change, as steady as the people that live beneath her.
you